a month. You're listening to Six Music. Me, Tom Ravenscroft. Georgie Rogers here with Music News. How are you doing? All right?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
How have you been?
Very well. Got to speak to Bat for Lashes yesterday.
Did you? How was that?
Very lovely. It was a pleasure.
Was it?
Yeah,
What's she been up to?
Well, she shared the first taster of this new album, Lost Girls, which will be out on September the 6th. The track is called Kids in the Dark, and we're going to play it for you after we hear from her. The new LP follows The Bride from 2016. Yep. She also did the Sex Witch project, which was with the band Toy in that time. And this came off the back of moving on from a major label deal to going independent. And she's based in LA, so I spoke to her on the phone yesterday evening to find out more about this record. It's just so good to have you back. So good to have more new music from you. How are you feeling about it all at this point?
I'm really excited. I've really enjoyed making this album, and it's been 3 years, and the last one was sort of quite deep and melancholy and dark, and this one sort of feels the opposite. I'm excited because the song Kids in the Dark, I think, is very romantic, and it's a really good opener, but there's so many more that are going to sort of transport people, I think, into this place I've been living in for the past year, which is just full of romance, and it's dancey, and like you can move your body to it, and it feels quite hopeful, and I think I sort of needed it as a bit of a tonic in some ways. So it's yeah, I'm just really excited to hear the rest of it.
First taste of Kids in the Dark that you mentioned, the synths in it are just explosively joyous. It's real, like, as soon as it kicks in the beginning of the track, I was like, oh, there it is.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I made the album with Charles, who I met at Bad Robot, which is J.J. Abrams' company here in LA. I first met with him and we wrote Kids in the Dark the first day we met, and it was supposed to be for a series that they were making, like a Stephen King series, but because it went so well, I wrote all the chords and like the melody, and then we built the song from the ground up pretty much in that first day. I think it had been brewing inside me for so long because all those synths and stuff, I was like, we need to get arpeggios up, can we find these old Junos and like all these different, synths that were used in 80s kids films that I loved, and E.T., The Goonies.
So good.
Like Cyndi Lauper's track at the beginning of The Goonies, and they all ride down the hill. There's all these sorts of sounds. I was like, in this part of this film, what was that sound that made me feel so excited? And we'd look at the film and like hear the sounds, and then create our own versions of that. Cure albums, and like all these safe, beautiful references in my mind that are places music and places I go to when I want to feel that explosive feeling. He had all of it, and he was like this Willy Wonka of the studio. We have really similar taste and like a huge love for 80s music and film soundtracks and stuff, so he just knew exactly what I meant. And that first arpeggio sort of synth sound you hear was like, that's the first thing we brought up, and I was like, oh my god, yes! And then we just sort of carried on building it from there. But that's kind of what every song feels like, this guilty pleasure where I just got to pick out sounds that just make my heart rush, and like you say, just sort of joyous and expansive, which I'm really, really happy about.
With you, there's usually a concept or a bow that ties it all together, and this one, it's Lost Girls. They're kind of characters, aren't they, with this character Nikki Pink at the heart of it?
Yeah, I've been living in LA for the past 2 years, and I've been writing scripts and kind of thinking about moving into trying to direct my first feature film, and I was working with Pastel, which is a production company that Barry Jenkins, who made Moonlight, developed, and I was having these really interesting chats with them about this concept of a film about a gang of girls, a sort of vampiric, but not vampires necessarily, but they're sort of bike-riding, desert-dwelling gang of girls that cause disruption and stuff in this town, and they come and take people for various reasons. And I don't want to give too much away, because the way we're sort of rolling out the album is that my directorial and filmic vision and experience is also being able to sort of come through in like a storytelling way on Instagram, and just we're hoping to sort of create a short film by the end of it that describes what happens to Nikki. But I think it's just always been for me that from the beginning I've always had a story that goes with each album, because it just helps me to flesh out that universe and that world and those characters. And having moved to LA and sort of the romance of it and the sun. You know, you get these blistering sort of sunsets where the sun is like blazing through the sky and it looks like Repo Man or, you know, some weird 80s film, and I was just like I felt like I was just living in one of my favourite movies all the time, and so I just developed these characters where I just kept imagining this gang of girls like walking down the street when I'm walking my dog, or it reminded me a bit of Lost Boys sometimes, and I was like, oh, what were the Lost Boys and Lost Girls, and just there was just a lot of apparitions happening, and they seemed to sort of invent themselves really. And I wanted to direct the film first, but as always the music just comes out and I can't really stop it, so the album formed itself and I just went with that. But the kind of film idea is still there and it's still developing.
I'm hoping for some desert girl motorbike scenes.
With a budget, but it'd just be me on a moped, like, going down downtown LA. But
on a little Vespa.
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe for the film.
I said to my music video like producer, they goes like, can we get bikes and deserts? He's like, I'm not sure, we might have to, maybe they're riding push bikes.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, whatever. Hopefully, if the album goes well,
yeah,
you'll see that.
Really want to be in California now.
I know.
You're going to be part of her biker gang.
Well, I would be, yeah. I'd do it for free.
That's very good of you.
She knows.
You've offered your services as part of the biker gang.
Yeah.
You've got your own motorbike as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I'll be in her gang any day.
Okay, great. I'm really looking forward to seeing that.